everyone, and welcome to Learning Zotero with the OSU-Tulsa Library. I'm Zane Ratcliffe, the Instruction Librarian here at OSU-Tulsa, and I will be guiding us through the workshop today. So today's workshop will be a walkthrough kind of experience. We will talk briefly about how to install and set up Zotero, but we are not going to spend too much time on that, so we can really get into the essentials of how Zotero works and can be used for your benefit. We will go over organizing and creating collections, syncing to your own account and creating groups or shared libraries, and then we will get into finding and saving sources using library databases as well as Google Scholar. We will then wrap up with creating citations and bibliographies with Microsoft Word, and then we'll leave a little bit of time at the end for questions. So why Zotero? What is Zotero? In case you are unfamiliar or need a refresher, Zotero is essentially just a research tool. It is a free and open source reference management software that was created to help you collect, organize, annotate, cite, and share your research with colleagues and classmates. Zotero can be useful for so many things. I use it to collect my references in a single location, attach PDFs so I can go back and view them quickly later, and highlight important elements, and then I will use it in conjunction with Microsoft Word or Google Docs to create quick in-text citations and a reference list as I go, so I don't have to worry about citations as much while I'm writing, and also so I don't have to backtrack and add citations after I'm finished writing, which can add extra hours onto a project that is already very lengthy. So it's about being efficient and saving time, which is good news for everyone. Whether you're an undergrad, a PhD student, or a professional researcher in your field, Zotero can help you be more efficient with your research process. So the first link here, zotero.org, goes to the main website, which is where you can go to download Zotero, create an account, and also look at the forums and extensive documentation on how to use Zotero. We will cover all of that in the next slide. Additionally, the library has a Zotero guide that you can access with helpful tips, tricks, and tutorials. And this workshop will be posted on that guide as well. The direct link to that guide is libguides.osu-tulsa.okstate.edu/Zotero. Okay, so step 1 is installing Zotero and getting set up. If you registered ahead of time, you will have received a handout with instructions on how to do this process, and that handout will also be made available to you in the Zotero guide. If not, that's okay, but we're not going to spend too much time on this part. The main thing I want you to take away from today's workshop is how to actually use Zotero. So at this point, we're going to navigate over to zotero.org and then go over the steps listed here. So we'll click download, we'll choose our setup, and then we'll download the Zotero connector. Okay, so on zotero.org, the first thing you'll see when you get to this page is this big download button here. So if I click download, this takes me to this screen where I can see that I can download Zotero 6 for Windows. I can also download it for Mac or Linux. This session today we're going to be looking at the Windows version because I'm currently on a Windows computer. And so what you would do from here is you would download it and then go through the steps to download and install Zotero for your computer. And then also over here, I'm going to use this Chrome connector. There are Zotero connectors that automatically sends content as you browse the web so that you can quickly save citations. It's a really cool feature. And the connectors are also available for Firefox, Edge, and Safari. I currently have the Chrome connector downloaded on my computer, so that's the one I'm going to be showing today. But these generally look pretty similar regardless of what operating system or what browser you're using. You just want to make sure that you install the correct one for your computer. At this point, we can create an account and set up syncing so that your library will always be saved to your account. If you haven't done this already, I will quickly show you how to do so. So from the zotero.org home screen, there will be a button that says register in the top right corner that looks like this, and I will navigate over there so that you'll see what that looks like. And once you click register, you will create your account with your username, password, and email. This does not have to be your OKey email, but if you would like to use your OKey information to kind of keep things consistent for you, then that is an option. And then once you log in, you can click on your profile to sync your library and create groups, which enables you to be able to share your libraries. So I will demonstrate this now. Okay, so from this screen, there is this option to register up in the corner. So if you click that link, it will ask you to create an account. And again, this makes it so that you can sync and access your library from anywhere and back up your files, which is a great thing to do. And then I will show you what it looks like when I log in. So if I click log in, I have my information saved so that I can log in to this account. Now my name is up in the corner, my username. So if I click my username and go to my profile, I can see that I can set up groups here. I can visit my web library. I can look at my publications if I have any. And I can create new groups. So if I click on groups, this takes me to a place where I can create a new group. And that's really great, especially if I'm about to work on a project in which I want to collaborate with other people. And that's a really helpful thing. And then those groups will appear in my client. And so I'm going to go ahead and open my Zotero client. Again, from this page, this is the home page of Zotero.org. What's really cool on this page is that you can see an example of what the interface looks like with 3 different columns. And this is really what it looks like whenever you have several different sources already loaded into your Zotero account through your client. And this one is actually an example of what the Mac layout looks like. This is a Mac interface right here, and so that can be helpful if you are using a Mac computer. And ours is going to look slightly different, but it's going to look pretty similar. So I'm going to go ahead and open up my Zotero library here. So when I open up my Zotero library, I can see right away, here's my library, and here are my folders. And to get to my preferences so I can set up syncing, I want to go to Edit, and then Preferences. And then from here, I can set up syncing. I actually already have syncing set up on my account. And then again, that handout that I sent, and that will be on the guide, has instructions for how to do this. So essentially this would be unlinked, and then you would put in your information and then choose to sync automatically, which is really great. And so once that is set up, then you're good to go. So now we have set up our syncing preferences in the client, and now we're going to look at the whole interface together. And then we'll look at how to create those groups, those collections and folders within the groups, and how to add items and create notes and tags. And so here we have another example of the interface like the one that we saw on the Zotero.org home screen, and this one is of the Windows version. And I like this example because it points out what everything is that you're looking at, and it shows you that there are 3 main areas within the main Zotero interface. On the left, we have the libraries and collections. You have to actually click into these folders on the left side, which are your collections, to get to this middle section, which is the collection content. So this is actually all of your articles and book reviews and book chapters and links to relevant sources that will be contained within each collection. And those appear in the middle of the screen. And then the item metadata, all of your citation information and notes and tags, are over here on the right in this column. So there are many different elements happening here, many of which are outlined here on the side, and we will look at these elements as we walk through the interface together. But these are the main things you need to be aware of. These are your collections over on the left, your contents are in the middle, and then your metadata, or what makes up your citations, is over here on the right. So we're going to open up the Zotero client, and if you have it available, you can follow along. We're then going to check out my library, grouped libraries, add a new folder, add a new item, and a note, and a tag. So my library has a lot of items in it, but I'm actually going to create a new collection, and I'm going to call this collection AI and ChatGPT because I'm currently doing research in this area. And so now I have a completely new collection that is just blank. There's nothing in this collection. I have an empty folder. So if I click on this folder, you can see there's nothing in the folder. I can also, you see how some of these folders have arrows. I've created sub-collections for some of my initial collections. And so if I wanted to do that, I could right-click and then do new sub-collection. And then maybe I want to do AI ethics as a sub-collection of this AI collection that I created. That's an option. You don't have to do that. It just kind of depends on your workflow that you want to create to do your research. Okay, and so from here, I have all of these different icons at the top that give me different options. So this plus sign is a way to add a new item. I can do that by entering the item in manually, or I can link to a file. And then as you can see, you have all different kinds of items to choose from, right? So we think a lot about citing articles in books and things like that, but you might also be citing a case or an interview, or you might be citing a podcast. So lots of different options to choose from here. And it's really nice because you can click on the book and then it will pop up over here on the right side where you can input that metadata by hand and then add relevant notes and tags and things like that. And so an example of a note would be, this is a great resource for learning about ChatGPT. And then I could highlight things. You have different options for what you can add as far as notes. You can also add tags. And so if I wanted to tag this as ChatGPT, AI, AI literacy, something like that, you can add different relevant tags and those will pop up. I think you can do it different ways. If I wanted to add just one tag, or you can add multiple tags at once if you want several things to be together. You can also delete a tag if you make a mistake. That's also an option. And this would be where I would put all of my relevant information. The title, I could put in Matilda, I could say last name, doll, first name, Roald, etc. And I could put in all that information myself so that I know it would be accurate. But there are other ways as well. So this little button here, this little magic wand, means you can add an item by identifier, and you can actually enter in an ISBN or DOI, etc. to add it to your library. So, for example, I have an ISBN for a book titled AI Literacy, and if I enter that ISBN and click enter, it will pop up on the side with the book and all of the metadata related to the book. And then again, I can go in and add my notes and add tags, etc. ChatGPT, and I see that tag already exists, so I can do that, which is great. I'm not sure why I added Matilda here. I always think of Matilda as my favorite example, but that book actually has nothing to do with AI literacy. So I'm going to right-click this book, and I have two options here. I can remove it from the collection, or I can move it to the trash. I'm just going to go ahead and remove it because it has nothing to do with what I'm looking for, and I don't need it. So I can go ahead and move it to the trash. And then now I just have the one title here. You also have other options. You can add notes by themselves. You can add attachments like PDF attachments. And then you can search up here in this box for all fields and tags once you get several sources in your folders. So there are several different ways to save sources, really four main ways. You can use the browser connector, which is generally the quickest way, and that's the way I'm going to show you next. And then as we just discussed, you can use the item identifier, such as a DOI or ISBN. You can import from a file, and then you can manually enter a citation, which we just did. So now that we're more familiar with the interface and know how to add items manually, let's look at how to import items using library databases in Google Scholar. For this section, it will be necessary to have the Zotero browser connector installed on whatever browser you're using. You can also use this file and import to import a file from a different reference manager or somewhere else. And that's another way that you can add references and things to your Zotero. So at this point, I'm going to open up the library databases. So I'm on the main library page, which is tulsa.okstate.edu/library. And I'm going to go into databases, and I'm going to look in Academic Search Premier. So I want to do a search for artificial intelligence or AI. And I want to do a search for ChatGPT. And at this point, there are several different ways that I can add sources to my Zotero. So I'm just going to pick a few that look interesting to me. At this point, I don't really have my topic super narrowed down yet. I just want to read a little bit more about this. This looks interesting, academic reviews and ChatGPT. That looks interesting. I'm going to just kind of quickly add this to a folder. This also looks interesting, so I'm going to add that to my folder as well. And that one also looks interesting, so I'm going to add that too. This one I'm going to open up and take a look at. So awareness of artificial intelligence in the classroom. Okay. So up in the top corner, I have this browser connector. And if you click on your particular browser, and look at the extensions. You can actually pin extensions. I have pinned the Zotero connector to my extensions so that it can just be here waiting for me. So from this page, what's really nice is I have this record. It looks like something I would like to have. And all I have to do is I can just click this little connector and then it'll say saving. And I'm already in my folder. So it grabbed the whole record to the citation and it grabbed the open access PDF. So now if I go back to Zotero, I have an entirely new citation here with not only the item and all of its metadata, but also with this PDF. And so if I click on the PDF here, I can actually open it up and look at it in Zotero. And then I have all these different ways that I can highlight text, I can add notes, and all of it is right here waiting for me. Now, you don't have to add PDFs to Zotero. I do sometimes, but they also take up a lot of space, and so I don't always. It just sort of depends on what I'm working on. But in this case, I wanted to go ahead and keep my PDF attached to my citation. So that is an option. And then if I X out of this PDF here, I can just get back to my main screen and I can see that citation here. And over here on the right, I can see all of the citation information. I can add notes, chat GPT in the classroom, visit this later. So now my note is there. And if I click back on the title, I can go in and add tags as well. What's nice is this actually pulled in tags that already existed. So this record had tags that were already assigned to it in the database, and it pulled those in. And then sometimes you can click on related and things will be there as well. And so let me go back to my database here, and this will work from this page here, this record page. It will also work if I clicked on this linked full text option here. It will give me another option as well. And this little connector can look different depending on what kind of source you're looking at. This one looks like a folder. The previous page looks like this little document here. So it just kind of depends. I'm actually going to go into my folder now in this database because I had 3 different items I was interested in from my results list that I would like to add as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all of these options. I have 3 options here. All of them have PDFs attached. And I'm going to export. And then I can do this direct export in RIS format. And I can remove these items from this folder after I save them here. You have different ways that you can save these, and you can add them to whatever citation manager you're using. But if you want to add them to Zotero, you want to make sure they're in this RIS format. So if I click Save, it now has downloaded this metadata from EBSCO. And if I click on that, it goes back to my client and it asks me, do you want to import the file into Zotero? And I can say yes. I can have it import to a new collection, but I want to put it in my current collection, so I'm just going to click OK. And then there are my 3 pieces. What it did not do is it did not grab the PDFs for those pieces. So I typically don't use this folder option unless I just have a ton of citations that I want to add at once. I might go item by item. It just, again, it sort of depends on your workflow and whatever works best for your workflow for your research. And maybe for these 3, I don't actually want the whole PDF because I want to save space, so I'm just going to leave those as is. This one had a note already attached. If I find that it's not relevant, I can get rid of it, but I might actually want to keep those because it has some interesting information there. And then I can look at tags, and again, this one already has tags that are assigned to it. If I find that those tags aren't relevant for me, I can take them off, or I can add new ones that are relevant. It just kind of depends. You can really tailor this to your research needs in many different ways and really make it your own. I'm also going to go to Google Scholar because things look a little different on the Google Scholar side of things. So say I want more articles on artificial intelligence and ChatGPT in the classroom. One option up here is I see my little folder. I can click this folder from Google Scholar and it will ask me which items I want to add to my library, and I can pick several. A lot of these look fantastic and I would love to add them to my library. So let's select these and then click OK. And now I can see that it's saving to my folder. And then whenever I go over to Zotero, it's going to add those pieces to my folder. This time it actually did grab a few PDFs because they were available, which is nice. It just sort of depends on what you're using. but you can always go back in and grab that PDF after you import the citation as well. And then, of course, alternatively, you can click on an individual citation, and then you can look at the article and then grab it individually as well. And this grabbed both the article and the PDF. You can go into your settings. If you go to Edit and Preferences, you can go into your settings and decide. If I go to General, you can decide if you want it to automatically retrieve metadata for PDFs or automatically attach associated PDFs. You can turn that off. It's just totally up to you. I have mine turned off because I find it to be helpful. I typically want to grab the PDF, and I can always remove the PDF if I no longer want it. But if I need to go back and find the PDF later, I don't want to have to search around for it. So now we have several sources available in our folder, and the next step is to figure out how to incorporate them into our writing. So the first thing we'll need to do is open Zotero and set our citation preferences. And then we'll look at how to do a quick copy and cite as you write. And this can be done with several different word processors. Today I'll be showing Microsoft Word, but you can also do this with Google Docs and LibreOffice. And then what's great is you can create in-text citations and bibliographies as you're working on your paper. So I have my Zotero open and I have my collection with all of my articles. I also want to open Microsoft Word, and I'm going to create a blank document. And from here, one thing I noticed is I have a Zotero tab at the top of my document. And this is something that is automatically loaded into your Microsoft Word or your Google Docs or whatever you use whenever you download Zotero. So whenever you download Zotero, you will have this tab automatically inserted into your word processor. And I have several different options here. I can add, edit citations, or edit a bibliography, and then I can update my preferences and all of that. In Zotero, in the client itself, you want to go to Edit and then Preferences, and then Cite. And then from here you can select a style that you would like to cite. I would like to use APA, and I can click that as my preferred style. If you're citing for the first time, if you create something from Zotero, it's going to pop up and ask you which kind of citation style you prefer, so that may happen as well. But I'm going to go ahead and set my style here. And there are several different ways I could do this. One thing I can do is quick copy. So say I just really need like a quick citation. One thing I can do is I can click a citation. I'm just going to click it, and I'm going to hold on to it, and I'm going to drag it over into my Word document, and then I'm going to release it. And that gives me a very quick citation. So if I'm just needing a quick bibliography, that is an option for me. There is also a quick option called Zotero Bib. So zbib.org is another Zotero option. It's really just a very quick, you can enter in the DOI and then come up with a citation. And that is also linked on this guide that you will get with your resources on how to use Zotero after the workshop. And so that's a quick way. I'm going to do it one more time to kind of show you how easy it is. So in the client, I have my citation. I'm going to click it and drag. And I'm going to drag all the way to my Word document and then release it. And there is my citation in the APA 7 style that I requested. I do see that there's an error in my style here, so I may have to go in and edit my metadata to make sure that it's correct, but that's a later problem. Another thing you can do is you can highlight all of your sources, and then you can right-click and then do Create Bibliography from Items. That's another quick way, and again, it's just going to ask me what do I want to use, and I'm going to say APA 7, and then I can copy to clipboard, or I can save it as an RTF. I'm going to copy it to my clipboard so I can put it quickly in my Word document, and then I'm going to paste it, and there's my entire bibliography. I didn't have to do any of that work. It's formatted correctly. I might have to go in and make sure my metadata is correct, but otherwise it looks like a pretty great bibliography. At this point, I want to create an in-text citation. So if I click on Zotero and then do Add Edit Citation, and then click my format here, I'm going to do APA 7, make sure that's correct. And then it's going to pop up with this little box. And if I go to Zotero, I can see, okay, well, and maybe I want to quote Bender. And so I'm going to click this Bender, and I'm going to start typing Bender. And as I start typing it, it's going to grab that metadata. I also just realized that that's a duplicate record, so I'm going to go in and clean that up. But first I'm going to show you how to do this. So if I go in and then click Enter, it automatically grabs that citation, which is fantastic. And then maybe I have several other options. So this is also a citation. I'm going to put a space, and then I'm going to do add citation. Then I have several other citations I want to add. Add edit citation, Patel. And then if I pretend here that I'm finished with my paper, this is a very quick example, but I can do add edit bibliography, and there's my bibliography. It just grabbed those 3 citations that I used, and it put them in alphabetical order. And so then I could create my reference list. And what I would do then is I would center that and then put it at the end of my paper. That's another good way to make a quick bibliography. A quick note, if you use that quick copy method, or if you paste in a bibliography from somewhere else, those are actually independent from your Zotero library. So that means if you go in and make metadata edits in your Zotero library, they will not be linked. However, using this in-text citation feature, your add edit citation feature, and your bibliography feature here, those are pulling the metadata directly from Zotero. So any edits you make over here in Zotero on this right side will appear on the other side in your Word document. So you can place your cursor where you want the citation to go, and then you click Add Citation. You can also edit citations within Word, but I prefer to actually go back into Zotero to edit the citations so that I can make sure that I have everything correct over here. It just helps me to visualize it over here. Some people will edit their citations directly from their Word document using the Add Edit Citation feature. Since we are running short on time, I'm going to go ahead and go back here to my slides. I want to wrap up with a few tips and things to be aware of when working with Zotero. First, I want to mention that Zotero is very, very good at formatting citations correctly in all of these citation styles that are uploaded into it. However, if your metadata is incomplete or incorrect, your citations are also going to be incomplete or incorrect. So you really want to check the item type, the authors, editors, title, dates, volume, issue, etc., all other relevant metadata, and make sure that it's correct. And then troubleshooting things. If you're having problems, the typical fix is to restart your browser, restart your word processor, and restart Zotero. I would just close everything out and restart it. You'll want to check your settings and make sure your browser is up to date and that your connectors have been installed correctly. If this does not solve your issue, you might check out the documentation on Zotero.org or contact the library for help. We're happy to help you individually with your devices to see how we can set up Zotero in the best way that works for you. Another note is that the free version of Zotero is really great, but as I mentioned earlier, storage space is limited. So if you want to add a bunch of PDFs or if you're running low on storage space, you can either upgrade to a paid account or you can choose to store your PDFs elsewhere. Sometimes, depending on what I'm working on, I might just have only my citations in Zotero and I might have all of my PDFs stored in a folder in my Google Drive or something like that. So that's an option. And then lastly, you want to make sure you save your work. Save it as you go, and then save it again, and save often, especially when working in your Word document. Thank you for attending the OSU-Tulsa Library Zotero workshop. If you have questions or want to make an appointment for help with Zotero or help with your research paper, you can use the QR code here to book an appointment. You can email me directly at zane.ratcliffe@okstate.edu, or you can visit our website at tulsa.okstate.edu/library to chat with us or send in a question.